Wrong. Welcome to the Body of the Kirk. Welcome to live number 157. We'll get to your texts in a moment. I'm trying something different this evening to see whether it's the stuff that we've done in the background has worked. It evidently has not. So someone did say to me, because we've changed the settings in the iPhone. So someone did say to me, why don't you go to an Apple shop and try and get Apple to look at it, which is what I'm going to do this week, because this is unacceptable on every single level. So welcome to the Body of the Kirk. Welcome all you utter wrong'uns. It's an interesting sermon this evening, if I may say. I'm going to give you the answer to what's going on in the world. I'm going to prepare you for what's coming. Remember Klaus Schwab? And he says, well, you'll owe nothing, but be happy. I'm going to prepare you for exactly that, because, well, scum sucking pond life are at it, to quote a very wise young man. There's lots we'll talk about Heathrow and Egypt. I'm going to give you some stories because, I've been to the Giza Plateau not so long ago. Tell you about that. JFK. Oh, I say, some top-hole news, because, well, I'm going to try some new things with the channel. Some things happening. I'm going to talk about, some observations in life in my sermon this evening, because I do believe that, everybody's starting to look the same, especially the female of the species. Have you known? Have you noticed? And it's only come this way because of, Turkey Teeth Price, Turkey Teeth Jordan, Turkey Teeth, whatever you want to call her. I just laugh. She's obviously got body dysmorphia, and there's something really wrong in between those ears of hers. But bloody hell, those teeth, man. Jesus, she could eat an apple through a tennis racket with those. Talking about that a little bit later. We're going to talk about, the reform civil unrest continues. Got some questions I want to ask you, quite a few this evening. We're going to talk about corporate utilities. I'm going to prepare you for something that's coming, said the bishop once. And for those that have been in touch, including Rich tonight, saying, oh, the Pope's not dead. Are you sure? Are you sure? He's 88-year-old. He's not been stiff in a long while. I'm telling you, he's heading that way. Hopefully they've given him a little blue pill so they won't be able to get the lid down on the coffin. I'm going to ask you some insight. We're going to do a little RIP, because people are asking about Andy Peebles. Never met George Foreman either, but I will, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it in the sermon this evening. So welcome to the Body of the Kirk. Please budge up, get everybody in. I understand, who was it? Tom Harness says, evening one and all, evening Rev. Who was responsible for the Battenberg in the substation at Heathrow then? Reckon it was the verger. He's been looking a bit shifty since it happened. That's long. At least it will smell rather fragrant. I want to say thank you to everyone that continues to support the channel with your donations, and the fact that you're here on the live means everything to me this evening. The stats are looking pretty wonderful at the moment, and I'm very happy with that. It continues to grow slowly, but it's always in the right direction, heavenwards, and that's all that matters, really. So the Super Battenbergers, to Stuart, as always, and Rich and Carol, and the all Bovril, and everyone that is very, very kind and donates via the super stuff, whatever that is. And I don't even know how to do it, so to speak. The supers, that is. But thank you to everyone that continues to support the channel. Really appreciate it. Paulie Galtieri says, good evening, Adrian, you utter wrong'un. I hope you had a good weekend. Yeah, not bad. Not bad. Took a day off yesterday. And what did I do? Well, I did work for the bloody channel. Are we going to talk Adolescence? I think we should. Hang on. Let me make a note, because I've not put it in my notes tonight. Yeah, we will talk about that because that's quite a. I appreciate that some people on watching the live tonight don't have Netflix and won't be able to watch it unless it goes on to another channel somewhere. But oi, 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 it's layered, it's subtle, it's brilliantly acted, wonderfully acted, and it's like it's almost a film in three parts. That's how they tend to do films nowadays in three roles, and so to speak. You can't get Battenberg roles, and I don't want to. I don't want to use any spoilers, but it's a real. We will talk about this during the live this evening, but it's a real. I mean, where do you start? So we will later on, once I've done some more. Welcome to the body of the Kirk. And if you have seen Adolescence, you can start putting up your take on it, your opinions on it, and your comments, because now the twain shall meet. I mean, I'm sure, depending on your personal lens, I mean, I come from a pretty similar background to that's in Adolescence itself. The main character, 13-year-old. Similar things, not knife crime, but similar things happened when I was 13, 14-year-old in school. In other schools, you hear rumours about what's going on in other schools. And I do believe that the politicians of this sceptred isle, Charles Linton, Bow Street Magistrates, Google it. Tony Blair has part of that responsibility. Because they're politicians, they're making decisions that affect us, the communities, our society, our areas, and knife crime is not even being tackled. And that arsehole, what's his name again? He was going to be the Black James Bond, and everybody laughed. He's supposed to be. Oh yes, well I'm helping with knife crime. No, you're not. Absolute bollocks, said a spokesperson. So, and I made a prediction on my lunchtime phone-in on Century 106 back in 1998, because a lot of people coming into this country were, there was a lot of knife crime in the countries that they came from. And it was only going to be a matter of time before knife crime took over. 20 years, one generation, boof. So let's talk about Adolescence in just a little while. Des Ashton's, Stuart, evening rev, the choir boys are complaining that you almost did 3 hours on Wednesday. Me? 3 hours? Behave. They've asked me to stop giving you so much Jaeger bomb. I said, lads, I've got enough to keep the rev going till Wednesday. Good man. Always good to hear, Stuart. Des Ashton says, hey, good evening to all you Battenbergers. I'm just back from one of the grandkids' birthday happening. Sushi in Burnley. Who would have thought it? Mind you, he is 22. Always a grandkid, Des. Always a grandkid. As I say, Tom Harneys has mentioned that. Oh, the Bovril. Everybody's in first. The Bovril says, evening all. Donkey Reeves, since last July, thought monetary policy meant money tree policy. They can't find these trees in the garden of number 11. Oh, let me tell you. She's just made me burp. That's how agitated I get when that intellectual pygmy's name is mentioned. I am going to eviscerate her bullshit later. Eviscerate. In fact, can I do it now? Can I just do it now? If anybody's late, then stuff them. They can watch this on catch up, because I'm giving you answers and answers and answers. And what I do in these, someone said to me, but Adrian, why do you use so much code? I said, because in 6 months' time, when you weren't paying attention properly, in 6 months' time, something happens, you go, bugger me. Adrian said that on one of those lives. I'm going to tell you something now about what Rachel Reeves has said. It's absolute, in a word, from a Chinese philosopher, bollocks. And why is it that, Adrian? I'll tell you. Because she's talking about a 15% attrition rate with the unsnivel servants, the people that actually run this country, not the show ponies that have nice suits in the Houses of Parliament and Commons. No, or Palace of Westminster, if you wish, or in what's going on with my head tonight? Portcullis House. In Portcullis House, where they have WhatsApp groups where they talk about ordering people in for sex. Yeah. Oh, you don't see that in the mainstream media, do you? Oh, of course not. Because they have the power, so they don't want anything mucked about with. So they don't want anybody saying, and as I've said to you before, in a completely unrelated opinion, because that's what I give on these lives, what have they got on Sir Keir Starmer that means that they can control him? Because you are not allowed to be in any powerful position at all, under any way, shape, or form in politics, unless they can control you. You have to do as you're told. So he's doing as he's told. So what have they got on him that makes him do as he is told? That's just a simple question. I'm asking for some friends who don't know either. They've asked me to ask you. So if you know, in the comments, please. Rachel Reeves, let me just give you this, baby. Rachel Reeves has said that her target for getting rid of the civil servants, it's government. It's too fat. It's too overburdened. We need to get rid of some of them. And she said she's going to get rid of 15% of them. Absolute BS. Absolute hogwash. This woman is talking out of her 22 billion black hole. Let me tell you. Is that Battenberg? So she's not telling you the truth. And how do I know that? Because any large business will tell you that there is normally between a 10 and 12% attrition rate, meaning that people will retire, people will step away from the job for personal, family, retirement reasons. And normally on a big organisation, whether it be the government or policing or health or whatever, the big organisations, you are bound to lose between 10 and 12% annually natural wastage, which means they don't have to fire anyone, they don't have to lay anybody off, they've just got to say, oh you want to retire? Oh, there you go, there's your pension. Right, I'm pausing because there's something going on. And the something that goes on only ever happens when somebody in this fucking household plays on his PlayStation 5. So I'll be having a word with him as soon as I finish this live, if I finish this live. So if it starts lagging again, then I'll have to stop this live. Oh, Adrian. Triggered? What? So what I'm seeing now is what I'm doing 4 seconds later. So let me give you the answer. Rachel Reeves is bullshitting you. She's gaslighting you. The whole government are gaslighting you. They're lying to you. Oh, my word. Low Labour lying to me. Lying. Oh, yes. Yes. I've told you. They're going to have between 10 and 12% natural wastage over the next 12 months. She wants to get rid of 15%. If it comes anywhere near 12 to 13%, she could say we're not far away from reaching our target. Now, I will tell you, so that's a lie. That's lie number one. How many do you need me to identify for you and eviscerate for you? Because they're all just bullshitting you. All of them. Every single politician in this country is corrupt. And by corrupt, I mean liars. Couldn't tell the truth if it stood up and bit her tits off. Mind you, at least Ginger Growler gets a nice portrait. Good. It's not going to lag anymore. I was going to tell you something else. So, So when you pick the morning papers up and they say this, that, and the other about any single politician, whether it's Kemi simply not good enough, or whether it's Rachel from accounts, or whether it's 2T Kia, or whether it's Ginger Growler, any of them, Fat Lad Lammy, any of them, Reparation Lammy. We want billions giving back to countries that, well, I think you made us slaves. No, we didn't. You might be a slave to fucking food, you fat cunt. But no. The truth about slavery is you go to the black African and you have a word with him who actually sold some of his tribesmen to people, maybe the Dutch, definitely not the English, but the black African sold his tribesmen for money to slave in America. Oh, sorry. No, they won't say that. No, Adrian, you can't say that. That's not the narrative. I know it's not the fucking narrative. Same thing as the Dutch. The Dutch were press ganging the English, the white ginger English, and slaving them to America. Read the book called White Cargo. It'll literally make you go, So all these fat lads that are talking about, oh, are you fat shaming Adrian? Damn right I am. He's on hundreds of thousands of pounds a year and he can't get on a fucking jogging machine. The weird shite, man. Jesus. Karina Jane says, what's wrong with Nigel? Is he a distraction? Oh, Karina. I wouldn't say that you are a cynical old tart like me. But yeah. He's part of the system, man. Hang on, comic relief. Asking for money to feed Lammy. He's not eaten for an hour. I think it's intravenous, to be fair, Ray. So, before we get into things, would you like an answer as to what's going on? Because Angelic Inspirations, Lammy needs to eat a lot more. Well, he might go, what the thin meant, sir? Fuck off, I'm stuffed. Monty Python. And sorry for the potty mouth tonight. I get very frustrated at a lack of integrity, a lack of honesty, and these politicians literally are. So how they manipulate everything, so how they get the mainstream media, the newspapers, the bullshit bollocks on first thing on the morning on the telly, when they get them to say the right thing and do the right thing and ask the right questions, it's because everybody everywhere is losing money. So the press need the government and the politicians, the government thereby the politicians, to keep them afloat. Everybody's losing money. Sky, the other day, they around Heathrow, they thought SAS, the airline company, was SAS, the Special Forces. So what did they do? They put up the He Who Dares Wins, or whatever the badge of the wings of the SAS, Special Air Force, Air Service. And I've told you before, the epithet for Sky and the and their tagline is Sky, never wrong for long. Just remember that every time you watch it. Sky, never wrong for long. Because they'll publish it. They don't care. They'll publish it and then go, shit, who was that? Was that researcher? It's SAS, the airline, not SAS, the bloody Special Air Service, you wrong'un. Right, sacked. Next. I laughed because it's ineptitude. But they're losing money, so I'm told. So if they're losing money, they need more money from the government. They need more money from, well, whomever's going to give them money. It's not Digger, that's for sure. So you've got the mainstream media losing money. I'm looking at the daily newspapers now, and I'm having sport with it. Not that I'm wiping me backside, because it's not good enough to wipe me backside with. But I look at all the adverts at the back going, oh, I say, have the government paid for these again? Because they're not making any fucking money. So, can I talk about money? Can I be really honest with you? I'm not going to the comments for now. The reason being, I'm going to ask you a question. I've got 6 or 7 questions I want to ask you tonight. Real heartfelt, real kind of insightful questions that I want your opinion on. So you know that I've said to you that WEF run the world. Well, there's the Council of 300, there's the Bilderberg Group, there's the Club of Rome, and there's WEF. They're all at it. They're all vying for, hey, we're in charge. No, you're not. Fuck off. Well, we'll hang one of your boys from London Bridge with some bricks in his pocket. Isn't that right, Your Holiness? You're wrongin'. Is he still alive? So it's all about the money, evidently. I mean, there's little WEF. When the US Agency for International Development gave them $32 million, they were like, oh, lovely, lovely. We can have a snifter or two for this amount of money. Well, I'm telling you that you've got to watch. It's geopolitical. But if you watch this, you're going to save your children, your grandchildren, and your grandchildren's grandchildren. You are saving them because you've got an insight into what is coming and how to avoid it. Now, where would you get an insight like that, Adrian? I shall tell thee. Tell thee. Canada, Mark Carney, WEF puppet. How do you know that? Well, he's been head of the Bank of England, which is a private company. It's not, we don't own it, the Bank of England. It's a private company. But Mark Carney, he's just announced this afternoon, a couple of hours ago, they're going to have a snap election in Canada. The Canadians are, and from my own personal experience, the Canadians are one of the most beautiful societies, communities, if you wish, on planet Earth. I couldn't believe how friendly they were in Vancouver. Mind you, they're off the tits on weed most of the time, because you can smell it everywhere you go, every 2 paces. But I'll tell you, I love the Canadians because they are wonderfully friendly. So Mark Carney is going to give them a tug. He's going to eviscerate anything that they can see and work out, and that he will get the Canadians to vote for him so that he can put the shackles on their wrist and the shackles on their ankles, and they're not even going to be in a BDSM dungeon. So let me tell you, the people that come here for answers. Not bullshit, answers. And here's the answer. The 3 countries that you need to be looking at are Canada, New Zealand. I mean, they're all shagging sheep in New Zealand, so they're of no consequence. Mind you, they put that... Jacinda... oh, bugger me, that was a great line. What? Jacinda? Well, Jacinda Ardern. She was in charge. Runny nose all the time. Oh, bloody hell, that was a great line. Oh. Smashing. So, just forget New Zealand. They're mad. And then there's Australia. Australia. This is where the answers are coming in. So let me tell you, if you are Australian and you live in Australia and you are a couple earning up to 165 grand a year. Now, I'm going to make this easy for you. I'm not going to bamboozle you with loads of numbers. It's going to be really simple. So there's Mr. and Mrs., not Arthur or Martha, Mr. and Mrs., not Mr. and chick with a dick. No, none of that malarkey. Mr. and Mrs., you're earning combined about 165 grand a year. Now, if you're in England and you earned about 165,000 pounds a year, you might be allowed, what, 3.5 times your income? So you might be worth like 500,000 tops. 165 a year times 3, 495,000. Quick arithmetic off the top of my head, I might be wrong, but nearly 500,000 pounds. So you would be allowed a mortgage of about that if you were lucky. In Australia, Mr. and Mrs. earning combined 165 grand a year, that's in Australian dollars, you can now buy in Melbourne a house worth 950 grand. Or if you're in Sydney, which is an unusual turn of phrase, but if you mind, just avert your gaze. I don't want anybody in Sydney while they're watching this. You can have a house, $1 million Australian dollars. So you're on 165 grand a year, and you can get $1 million Australian dollar mortgage in Sydney. Hang on. What's the catch, Adrian? Oh, it's coming, so to speak. the government, that's the Australian government, are going to help you. I mean, how wonderful is that? I mean, the Australian government, in the goodness of their Australian left-wing Marxist socialist government's heart, they're going to help you. So here's the deal. You will own nothing and you'll be happy. So the Australians get £1 million house in Sydney. So it artificially inflates the price of houses and property in Sydney and Melbourne. But the government are going to help you buy your house. So it's not you and the missus or you and the mister. It's you, the missus and or the mister and the bloody government. The government want part of your house. They're going to own part of your house. So can you see? The Australian government are getting people to overextend themselves beyond their capabilities, and then when they can't pay their mortgage, oh lordy, the government buys up the house, the property. And why would they do that? I'm telling you, you will own fuck all and be happy. And now the Australian government are getting people into debt traps that they can't get out of, and the house is artificially inflated until it's not, and then it's in negative equity territory. And then the government just steps in and goes, well, we own or part own this house, so we'll now take control of the housing stock. And unless you pay and play the right game with the right people, and I'm talking about the socialist, Marxist, communist, Australian government, you can stay in the house. But if you're not, if you're Nigel Farage or Rupert and the rest of the reform chaotic, yes, well, so I need you to understand this. Forget the numbers. This is what is going on. BlackRock in this country and Ukraine and everywhere around the world where they can, where they have influence with 2T IKEA et al., they're buying up the housing stock. So this may take them another 20 or 30 years, but they're going to buy it all so that you will own nothing and be happy. Now, you won't see this coming because nobody's publishing it in the mainstream media. I've had to do my research from word I got that from somebody in Australia because people are frightened. They're scared. They don't know what to do. Don't buy a bloody £1 million house, let me tell you. So it's coming. It's already in New Zealand, I'm sure. Australia are just the test bed for all the socialist governments around the world, which is kind of Europe, France, Germany, UK. Blimey, I sound like Mick Jagger and David Bowie. Brilliant, Alan. Don't buy a Castlemaine 4X. The Umarian meme, not sure about the happy part. No, well, they don't care. They don't care. They'll have you eating crickets. They don't want you eating healthy stuff like steak. They don't want you eating healthy stuff like eggs. Because can you remember that Dippy Bint with, it was banging John Major. I mean, that was bad enough. She got paraded out. Oh, I say, don't eat bloody eggs. And then all the producers were like, what you doing? Edwina, man. Edwina, shut up. She was like, oh, I was just trying to be helpful. Curry, I fancy one of them, Stephen. Not that one, not Edwina, just one that's tasty. Terry Wookford, curried eggs. Orokida, the lovely Edwina. That's what John Major said. Mucky tart. Les Griffiths, looks like criticism of Labour or reform isn't being allowed tonight, isn't it? What do you mean, Les? So they use Australia so that they can, if you know what I mean, embed the policy to see how the human beings, the great unwashed, the hoi polloi, hopefully somebody who's watching will know that I've got that right this time around, they know that we're not going to do anything about it. So they've got Mark Carney in Canada doing exactly the same thing that Rich Boy Sunak. Remember Rishi Sunak calling a snap election? Oh, and they got the Labour Party in because Rich Boy and Two-Tier and Ginger Growler and Rachel from Accounts and Boris the Clown and Liz Truss are all WEF puppets. Don't you understand that? They don't need to pick sides. They pick them all and bribe them because they're all corrupt. There's multi-millionaire Boris Johnson on 165 grand a year. Where did those millions come from? And don't tell me they came from bloody making speeches. How to end shite, man. And Liz Truss and all of them. Oh, I made millions. I made millions. I bet you did. And now you're coming out, the clown, and saying, oh, well, we knew that the Charlie 19 came out of the Wuhan lab. No, you fucking didn't, because you had us rattling pots and pans on our doorstep on a Thursday night, looking like utter twats. You, the clown, need to go abroad. We don't want you in this country, from what people are telling me, and we will have a vote in a second. But they're not clowns. They're really intelligent people that come from really clever schooling, from really clever teachers, and they are seemingly the elite until we catch up on their grift and go, whoa, hang on a second. You were only earning 165 grand a year. You only get 165 grand as a pension once you've left the portals of power, so to speak. So what are you doing on millions? Has Daddy given you a kickback from all the houses that he bought on the HS2 route and made a profit from them? Sorry, did I say that out loud? Paulie Galtieri, remember limp-wristed Starmer clapping outside his fake family home? Which one? Lord Ali's flat? Parapet above your head? Is that parapet above your head? I remember Carney at Barclays or Bank of England. Weren't he behind all the banking bailouts? Yeah, quantitative easing, as they call it. There was some scam he did, can't quite remember. He's mates with Charles now. Will they stick together? They're all just snout, trough, money, thank you very much, by the billion. And now that the US Agency for International Development is no more, since they've cut them off at the knees, they're all squealing like stuck pigs that they can't get the money out of the system because the system is simply this. Country, government, gives money to an NGO, non-governmental organisation, so it can't be traced. And then the NGO, the non-governmental organisation, gives a kickback under the table back to the very politicians that gave them the money in the first place. Can you see? Government, money, NGO. NGO, money, politician. That's how the grift works. It works worldwide, especially in America, because they are spunking billions of dollars every single year until Musk and Trump got in power, and now they're flooding the zone. Everybody's like, no, what are you doing? Oh, they're setting fire to Tesla cars. Yeah, because they can pay people to go and do that kind of thing because they're really brassed off with Elon Musk cutting off their access to billions and trillions of US dollars that the electorate didn't even see, didn't even know, wasn't sure what was going on. They knew that they were putting a lot of taxes into the system, and that's why, do you know, Donald Trump has said, and they're talking about the taxes, they're going to give every single taxpayer $9,000 back. That's like HMRC going, hello, Adrian, we're going to give you £9,000. What for? Well, just because out of the goodness of our heart. What do you mean? Don't you want the £9,000? It's better than a kick in the nuts. Okay, right, we'll put it into your bank account. Really? Yes. Is this a scam? Do I have to give you anything? No. Please, just take the $9,000. Please, just take it. All right, then. Put it in my account. I'll believe it when I see it. Bugger me, there's £9,000. $9,000 extra in my bank account. Where did that come from? Well, it'll be an HMRC. That's going to go on soon in America. They're not believing it until it's in the bank account. When it goes in the bank account, look, it's a bribery. It's the same thing that President shits his pants. He said, have we got enough illegals in the country yet? Where can we put them? California. Oh, lovely. Are they going to vote for us? Jill, that's Dr. Jill Biden. Well, I would imagine so, Joe. Why won't they? It's corrupt. The whole system is corrupt. The whole governments worldwide are corrupt. In fact, do you want to know? Somebody, a real dear friend of mine, said to me the other day, "Here, Adrian, you're clever." Obviously, he's had too much coffee, very strong coffee. And he said, "You're clever. Whatever happened to Idi Amin?" I said, "What? The bloke, the cannibal out of Uganda? I remember him in the 70s. He was a bit of a psychopath." "Yes." "So what do you mean? What happened to him?" And he said, "Well, what happened to him?" I said, I don't know. I'm not from Uganda." He said he lived his life out in the Middle East. Nobody went after him because he was allowing people to get fingers in the oil barrels of the oil that was coming out of Uganda. So they looked after him. He was supplying millions and millions and millions to people. Wasn't he educated and trained at Sandhurst, Mr. Idi Amin? So he lives out his life in the Middle East, fawned upon. I mean, I'm sure he's dead now because he would be some age if he was still alive. But Tim says he lived in Saudi. I know. Thank you, Tim. Thank you for that. You were first timer, Tim. Writing wasn't very big, so I would presume that's tiny, Tim. So Idi Amin buying and bribing everybody worldwide, and they just let him live his life out in Saudi Arabia, and he was eating other human beings, man. Oh, mucky tart. I tell you what, fit. Alan, would be good. However, you need an honest government in charge first to form it and oversee it. Seaman Staines, David Lammy's dad. He probably wants reparations for Uganda. Les Griffiths, politicians should be paid a flat rate per diem. 2-term max. Very, 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 very good. Turjoker says they shrunk his head. Which one? Happened to me when I saw Bella Emberg. So keep your comments coming. I'm now going to start and ask you some questions. So the first one tonight, I've got 5 or 6. We're going to talk reform, Diana, Charlie 19 and the lockdowns. Wouldn't that be a great name for a band? We're going to talk some music and a bit of wokerati and virtue signalling. So question number 1. Remember, it is always 1 for yes, 2 for no. Stuart's in there. 1 for yes, 2 for no. But this time, this question only, it's a 3. Baby. It's a threesome. So it's 1, 2, or 3. The question is, who is still the most hated man in Britain? Is it number 1, Sir Keir Starmer? Is it 2, Matt Hancock? Or is it Han Shandy? Matt Hancock is number 2. And number 3, Adolf Hitler. So who is still the most hated man in Britain? 1, Sir Keir Starmer. 2, Matt Hanshandy. Or 3, Adolf Hitler. Rich Blair, brilliant. Is he? I mean, Matt Hancock killed all the old ones off in the old folks' homes. Derek Tomlinson's going for Adolf. Blair, interesting. So the majority of the votes, and thank you for your votes so far, who is still is the most important word, who's still the most hated man in Britain? 1, Sir Keir Starmer. 2, Matt Hanshandy. Or 3, Adolf Hitler. And notice, look, if you're clever and you get this, there is a reason why I put Adolf Hitler 3rd. This programme's not just hoy together, you know. Oh, in the field, Chris Whitty. Or is it Chris Bed Valance? Because isn't Bed Valance, isn't he in Blair's organisation, the Blair Institute, whatever it's called? Mike J says it's close between Starmer and Hancock. But at least Han Shandy's getting his wicked way. getting his bell end away. We'll get to question 2. The next one is a musical one. But like I say, we're going to do Diana. We're going to do... it's the 5th anniversary of lockdown. Remember the good old days? You could eat anything you want, except buy toilet paper at the supermarket, because those that were full of it were buying it by the trolley load, just in case, well, they couldn't wipe their arse on grass. Not that kind of grass, before you start. Sierra Alpha Alpha Bravo. Chris Whitney, the only man with eyes in 3 counties. You're so naughty. So, told you to keep an eye on Australia, because they're doing in Australia, remember it's got to happen by 2030. They're doing in Australia what they want to do us in maybe 6 months to a year. They're going to distract you. They're going to put it there, but the government's going to start and help people. Oh, I say, it'll be the bloody immigrants. They'll help them, and as long as they've got a 2% or they've got some kind of foothold in your house, you default, you can sleep on the streets. Nicholas, however, lads and lasses, 250 watching. Hit the like for the rev. Let's offer each other the sign of peace. Agincourt to the French. I'm going to... now, you're going to have to forgive me, because I'm going to have to dance around this for varying reasons, which I can't bring here for the moment. Steve Barnes. Hancock said he'd do it again. I've seen the video. He probably did her there and then. Rich. Les Griffiths and an outside lav at that. Oh, God, I love the outside toilets. I don't know why we had to improve them or bring them indoors. It was like, honestly, if you never had an outside netty, as we used to call them, if you've never had an outside bog, you don't know. All right, during the winter, the women would have complained that it was too bloody cold. But we lads could go out, no disturbance, no nothing. And there's a gag there that I'm not going to do, because honestly, people would be like, oh, you mucky tart. But you could go out to the netty, sit there, read the paper that you were going to use as toilet roll, and just not get heat and hassle. Amanda Sky makes a very, very, very good prescient point. Too many spiders. I get that. But they were too cold in the winter, and you'd have mosquito gangs in them nowadays. Oh, Mike J. Yeah, well, yeah, I'm getting it. And is that Hancock J? Probably scared the pants off her. I mean, them Gesundheit. So I want to, if I can, if you'll allow me, pay some respect, because, I mean, and this kind of plays into adolescence, which we'll get to in a little while. When I was growing up as a bit of a daft lad in the northeast, in Sunderland, my heroes were Muhammad Ali and Brian Clough and John Lennon, and all working class heroes. So I felt that if I applied myself, I could go on and attempt to be something. I had aspirations. And if you look at today's youth, whether it's Gen Z, whether it's Gen Z or whether it's Generation Alpha, there's absolutely bugger all alpha about them, let me tell you. It was always, if you wanted to get out of your council estate, you either became a boxer, Muhammad Ali, or you became a sports star of some kind, Brian Clough, or you got in a band and were lucky to become famous, John Lennon. So they were the only routes out of a council estate, in my view, from my youth. And it was Henry Cooper, what a gent, says Alan. I agree. Oh, Henry's hammer. Oh, that was some left hand. He didn't half put Muhammad Ali on his backside. And his coach had to kind of split the glove and go, oh, we need a different glove. Angelo Dundee. So I remember the days of the big fights, Muhammad Ali versus Joe Frazier, Smoking Joe. I remember the Rumble in the Jungle in Zaire. Big George Foreman, who was a brute of a man. I mean, he was a huge, hulking man, comparatively, of course. And Muhammad Ali was evidently a little worried about it, but he was the greatest, and there were many reasons why he was the greatest boxer ever. Some say Mike Tyson, but if Mike Tyson in his prime fought Muhammad Ali before he was sent to jail because he refused to go to war on behalf of America in Vietnam, I believe that Muhammad Ali would get into his head. That's how Ali won. And the Rumble in the Jungle, as Alan says, my dad let me stay up to watch, was just wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. There was the romance, there was the showbiz, there was two men in their physical prime. And Big George Foreman passed away. And sometimes we hear of famous people passing away, whether it's one of the Nolan sisters, rest in peace, or whether it's Big George. I mean, when Muhammad Ali died, or John Lennon died, or Brian Clough died, I'm not afraid to say, I'm a grown man, grown-ass man, I did shed a tear, because they were heroes. And Big George, he said at one point, he made more from the grills than he did from boxing. And he was a preacher and everything. He was a wholly rounded individual. And I don't mean like physically. I mean spiritually, intellectually, physically. He just was and in any other time in boxing, he might have been world champion for years and years and years. He was double world champion, bless him. I mean, in his 40s, he became world champion, world heavyweight champion. I mean, they were going nuts. The commentators were going nuts. But R.I.P. Big George. Because he was a character, and he just made the world a much more entertaining place by his presence. And good fight, yeah. Somebody says Stephen Hall, didn't Henry Cooper advertise Brute? Yeah. With Kevin Keegan, and who was the other one? Because it was always the other one that didn't get the publicity. It was always Al Henry and Kevin Keegan. But I will say this, Andy Peebles has passed away at 76 today, only a few hours away. It was released. And Barry Sheen, Thurl Rebel, thank you very much. Barry Sheen. Yeah, Barry was a character and a half. I mean, to live his life. And they were all great characters. Even though they were sort of advertising something that, look, I wore it when I was a kid, didn't wear it when I was an adult. I went to Old Spice. Look at me. The original Bionic Man, I know. These men lived a million lives. But I met Andy a few times, and I was just a little grunt. Hi, karate, says Rich. I was just a little grunt. Andy Peebles had, I think he'd done the last ever British or BBC interview with John Lennon. I think there may have been an American that did an interview after that. I'm not sure, but Andy did a fantastic and fabulous interview for John Lennon's Double Fantasy album. He went across to New York, set it up, did it, few hours, and released it in time for the release of Double Fantasy, his 1980 album. And I mean, when I met Andy Peebles for the first time, I was like, I was kind of in awe of him, and didn't really know what to say, because, well, they say that you're 3 handshakes away from anybody in the world. When I shook Andy Peebles' hands, well, back in it would have been the late 80s, 1 handshake away from John Lennon, one of my heroes. And Andy was very, I will always speak how I find. And Andy Peebles was always, in my company, was always very humble, and was lovely company. There was always more than just me and him, people around. But he was, I loved his Soul Train. Was it Soul Train on Radio 1? And I remember driving around in the Northwest when I was at Rock FM, and Peebles was on BBC Lancashire in the evening, and he played was it Man Parish, hip hop bebop, and my mind was blown. The BBC playing something so, in my view, this is back in the when was it, Rock FM, probably early 90s, playing Man Parish hip hop bebop. I mean, that was proper edgy stuff. And then he played the Smurf by, can't remember off the top of my head. But again, I was listening to him playing the Smurf. Tyrone Brunson, Rich You Beauty. So Tyrone Brunson, the Smurf, you can get it on all the streaming facilities like Spotify. Go and listen to it. This is not normal radio. It might be nationally, but local BBC. There'll have been managers in the BBC pulling their hair out if they had any left, going, "Oh my God, what's he playing?" And Andy Peebles was just laughing his cap off playing Tyrone Brunson, the Smurf, and Man Parish, hip hop bebop. This was really edgy stuff. So for that, rest in peace, Andy. It was lovely to meet you. It was lovely to be in your company. And for a daft lad that loves his dance stuff, his dance groove and stuff, thank you for entertaining. And you know, Andy was there's no darkness to Andy in my experience. I didn't hear anyone speak badly of him, unlike other national BBC presenters, some who were doing jail time, some who should have done jail time, some of whom were just, well, what can you say? Best left alone. So R.I.P. Big George Foreman, and Andy Peebles, who's passed away at 76. And I said this to you before on these lives. You know, there are some radio presenters. I mean, Big George was worldwide known. I mean, George Foreman, the name is known planetarily. The whole of Earth would know of Muhammad Ali and Smoking Joe Frazier and George Foreman. But for me, some of the old radio presenters, the Radio 1s and 2s of the world, because I never listened to any of the Radio 4. Get strumming. David Sheff did the last Lennon interview on the day he was killed, but Andy P interviewed him the day before. He learned of Lennon's death just as he got off the plane in the UK. What an awful shock. I agree. I knew an American had, but I didn't know the sequence, the timeline of when the interviews happened. Awful. Lauren Taylor saying, Google saying Peebles was the last Lennon interview. Theo Bovril talking about Sonny Liston. Oh, yeah, when Muhammad Ali beat Sonny Liston. Sonny Liston was an absolute animal. But those old heavyweights, they were big. They were just marauders. I just wanted to kind of pass my respects while we did this live, because we do talk about some of the greats in varying fields when we do these lives. Something that I learned over the next couple of days, and I do believe you need to be aware of this. Listen, I read the newspapers every single day, and I was at dinner on Friday night, and someone said, we were talking about paying the bill and stuff, and they said, "Oh yeah, do you know that it's they're going to give you unlimited on your cards now?" And I said, "What?" And they said, "Oh, you know that they're going to give you unlimited on your card." I said, "So it started at the beginning of lockdown, 25 quid, and then during lockdown it was 35 quid, and then a little further in lockdown it was 100 quid. So can you, as I say to you, and somebody did challenge this the other day, the boiling frog analogy, where you put a frog into a pan of boiling water, the frog is going to jump out straight away. But if you put a frog in a pan of cold water, then it's not going to go anywhere, and you'll boil the frog alive." So can you see how they want us to go cashless? It's becoming more and more prevalent, and the more we go cashless, I spoke to somebody today. I took the new Mrs. Allen out for lunch, and as I went to pay, he said, "Card or cash?" I said, "Does anybody pay you in cash anymore?" And he was like, "Yeah." She said, cash is better. Cash is always better. I said, well, I've only got a card on me. I said, I only carry cards. I don't carry cash anymore because 5 years down the line of being told to use your card, go cashless, I go cashless. And he said, no, cash is better. I said, look, I get cash is king, but it's more convenient. And so I didn't know whether we were going to go 25 quid, 35 quid, 100 quid, and then 200 quid, and then unlimited. But the conversation around Tom Harney says, Santander closing more branches. I know. Stuart says, when I was in London back in January, every place we went was card only. Nicholas, I've said it for years, buy old gold. Well, gold is now worth over £3,000 per ounce at the moment. It's never been that high, ever. Unless you're Tutankhamun, of course, which you get it for free. But now they want us to use our card and the limit is going to be unlimited. They're wanting us, they'll take another 3 to 5 years to 2030, where we're so used to going tap, 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 and not carrying cash. They want to get access to your bank account. And can you see that they're doing things by stealth? So whether it's Australia saying, well, the government will stump up some money so you can have a really big house for $1 million Australian dollars in Sydney. Or, yeah, just use your credit cards and your debit cards and give us access to your bank account so that we can put stuff in. And remember, I've told you this a million times. They are going to give you a solution to a problem you didn't know you had. That's what the game is. You don't, a bit like Donald Trump flooding the zone. He's doing so much with Elon Musk that the Democrats and the political classes, the parasitical classes in Washington, D.C., don't know what they're doing, so they don't know how they're going to fight them and get the power back from the Donald and the Musk. I mean, can you imagine if they're setting up Elon Musk as the next president of the United States? That's why J.D. Vance is there. But Alan says, I use cash wherever I can. I've said cash is king. But they're closing, as someone mentioned, they're closing Santander, more branches. They're closing ATMs. At one point where I lived, there was about 4 or 5 ATMs on one high street. Now, you either have to pay for the privilege or there's one other. So they're making it more difficult for you to use your cash. Your cash, not theirs, your cash that you've bust your buns for. So let me tell you that this unlimited limit means that your behavioural patterns will always be tap, 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 tap. That's what they're after. I don't think they got it during lockdown, but they got us into the way of doing it. I mean, 25 quid, what could you buy that? I mean, some of the places I go to, you can't even get a bloody pint for that, man. I'm being facetious, of course. But 25 quid, then 35 quid, then £100, then £200. Oy, 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 oy. But keep your eyes open. I know a lot of people watching this channel are awake, but it's not for us to wake other people up because it's too late. They literally, as the Matrix said, it was the red pill, blue pill, or whatever Neo was saying, that people are so inured by the Matrix that they will actually fight to protect it, when actually it's working against them. And Chris Mundy makes a very good point. They can actually turn off your card. So if you turn around and go, oh, the Chinese Communist Party, they're all a bunch of caring and understanding 90s type, and somebody from the Communist Party or the Socialist Party or the Marxist Party or any other left-wing party that they care to name that might be in power, like the Labour Party, they can just go, oh, just switch his card off. He's not getting that. He's not getting access to his, and no, we'll stop him paying for his house. So within, a moment, you're on the streets. Well, I will say to you, I think Sam's just said, I think a check might make a comeback. It's cheaper to process. That's why they're bringing crypto in, Sam. So that XRP, the two, there's about 8 or 9. And again, I won't bamboozle you with kind of technical stuff because it's pointless. But a America is going to become the #1 crypto capital in the world because the Trump wants that. There will be regulations in place so that there's no corruption, there's no fraud, and the institutions and the banks will use a crypto called XRP. Bitcoin is going to be the gold reserve. And today somebody's come out and gone, oh yeah, what we'll do is we'll buy all the gold up as kind of reserve for Bitcoin. So they will have Bitcoin here and all the physical gold, and they will rely on the physical gold to back up Bitcoin. That's where that's going. The institutions, the banks, will need a Bitcoin to speed up the process of transferring money around the world in literally 2 or 3 seconds. That is going to be XRP. For you and I, if we want to go into any shop on the high street and you want to buy your coffee and you tap your phone, or you might tap a card, but it'll invariably be you will tap in your phone. And the reason why they wanted you to use your phone, iPhone mainly in my view, the reason why they want you to use your phone to tap on the merchant's terminal to pay for things is because your phone has already validated who you are. So somebody can nick your card and here we go, tap, 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 buy the Ben some nappies and go and buy other stuff and tap, 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 tap. But you've got no proof it's you. So you can challenge that with the banks or the credit card companies. But if you're using your phone to tap a merchant's terminal, then it's validated straight to you. And how are they going to use that for the transfer of monies in between buying your coffee and you? They're going to use something called XLM. XRP for the institutions and the banks, and they're already mucking about with these. They only go up 5% and down 5%. Because they are controlling everything. The XLM will be between the high street merchant, Asda, Tesco's, clothes, food, whatever you buy on the high street. You're going to need a digital coin to be able to make sure that the exchange of your finance into the bank of Tesco's, they're going to need something. They're going to use XLM. It's Ripple is the overarching company, and the chief exec of that company, Brad Garlinghouse, is actually one of the people looking at bringing in the regulations to control crypto, and he's on the committee that the Donald has just set up to look at making America the #1 crypto capital of the world. So checks are not going to work. You can't exactly. I mean, I know the special forces take physical coinage, gold coinage with them if they need to get out of the shite wherever they are. Brilliant. Terry Wookford says, so now when I mug someone for their phone, I always take their index finger too, or just hold it up to their face. Oh, here, look in there. Yeah. Just smile. Adam, well, I think we will still be buying in what we think is fiat, dollars, pounds, but we will be converted into crypto in the background. Good point. Very good point, Adam. I do believe that they're going to run the two in parallel because they don't want to scare us off going, I don't win shite. No. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. I do believe that they want us just to seamlessly go into crypto and digital currencies. Now, remember that Ursula von der Leyen, she has already created with Europe, I mean, nobody's elected her, but she's in charge of Europe, seemingly. They've already created the digital currencies in Europe, so they're going to make us give up our fiat currency. They'll probably give us some incentive, and as I say, they will give us the solution to a problem that you didn't realize you had. And that's how it makes it easy. They lie to you. Rachel from accounts, I'm going to do away with 15% of the civil servants. No, you're not. You're just going to allow for natural wastage over a year. And if they get rid of 12% or 13%, they can go, oh, look at that. Oh, yes, we almost just missed the target. And it's natural fucking wastage. Nicholas, Whitley Beer Playhouse, Friday night, had a pint with Henning Wen. He said, you did one of his first UK show plugs at LBC. What a lovely plug. Who? Henning? What? Oh, yeah, man, I'm a bit older now, Nicholas. The grey bits are LBC was a while. But brilliant. If he remembered my name, brilliant, wonderful. Sam, who is going to pay for all this transfer to crypto? Sam, join me on the cynical old tarts bench. We know who's going to pay for it. Me and you. Don't believe the politicians. That's why they're at it. That's why there's two Tia Kia wearing some combats, looking like he's Action Man, and he's not. I've laid cable harder than him. Chris Mundy, what's the odds of cyber attack when Cashless comes in? Les Griffiths, Henning is a German comedian. Stephen Hall, not listened to LBC for years. It's entertaining, that's for sure. Did I really, Nicholas? Wow. Well, look, if I've made somebody smile, then brilliant, wonderful. Alan says, it's free banking still, as long as you're in credit. Haven't paid my bank 1 penny for years and years. That's because what they did was, banking is the art of making money out of nout. So you give them your money. So let's, for arbitrary sake, say you put £100 into your bank account. The bank is then allowed to lend out 2 or 3 or maybe 5 times the money that you've put in. So we'll take 5 times for arbitrary sake. And if the bank lends out 5 times what you've put in, so £500, and they charge 2 or 3% return on that £500, they are literally making money out of nothing. That's how banking works. Making money out of nothing. Nix, nada, nout. Naff all, never in a month of Sundays. They're using your money to make them richer. That's how banking works. So when they get hold of XRP, and literally the money from, say, Hong Kong Shanghai Bank, HSBC, to Santander in Spain, if you want, or to one of the American banks, seconds, 2 or 3 seconds, boom, that money's gone from there to there, and it's in there, because it's going to be the blockchain. What they're going to want, not to scare you, of course, is Ponzi, says Vixtex. I'm with you there, absolutely. But the one thing you have to remember is they don't want to scare you so that you bolt and run and don't trust them. They will give you a solution to a problem you didn't realize you had. So financially, if you want to transfer money around, so like, I don't know, like you want to buy something on one of the sales sites, Vinted, eBay, one of those, and you want to pay somebody, well, you know that PayPal will just kind of gone, because you'd be able to do it in real time, in seconds. It doesn't have to go through any process. You don't have to send somebody a check. It's like, what were the old phrases? Yeah, the check's in the post, and no, I won't come in your mouth. So, hang on. Labour pension pledge under threat. I mean, they think we're thick, because what they're doing, what they're not telling you, is they will be raiding pension pots. So let's take, I don't know, Thames Water. So Thames Water were able to pay their shareholders their dividends. But what happened to the pension pot? So when these foreign companies have come in and bought big organisations, like the utility companies, where's the pension money gone? If you look at Captain Bob, Robert Maxwell, he was losing money left, right and centre. So all he did was he raided the Daily Mirror's pension pot and used that to prop up his businesses everywhere. And when that went under, and all the Daily Mirror and Mirror Group newspaper staff said, whoa, hang on a second, where's my bloody pension gone, you wrong'un? The government had to go, we'll sort that. Don't worry, don't panic, we'll sort that. Captain Bob went for a swim, didn't come back. Buried on the Mount of Olives. And you know the one thing that you can't do on the Mount of Olives is you can't go digging and bring somebody back from their grave or the dead. Absolutely not allowed. Evening, Samurai Cop. Not allowed. So you can't dig dead people up from the Mount of Olives. Unacceptable. And in law in Israel, you're not allowed to do it. So a bit convenient that he was interred in the Mount of Olives. turd being the right phrase. So let's get on to some other stuff. We'll get to some music because the subjects have been quite deep for the moment. I'm going to ask you, and then we'll get to another question in just a little while. I'm going to ask you this one question. If you had one song, and I'll give you a minute or two to think about it. If you had one song that you think everyone should listen to at least once in their lifetime, what would that song be? I'll give you the question again. If you had one song that you think everyone should hear, Nigel, behave, that everyone should listen to at least once in their life, what would that song be? So I thought about it. Oh, Comfortably Numb. How wonderful, Terry Wookfit. Ren Money Game, Part 1. Don't know that one, Andrew. John Lennon, Give Me Some Truth. Oof, what a song that is. Golden Slumbers, again. Brilliant, Nicholas. You are a child of the... Oh, you are a child of the universe. Oh, wonderful. Time, Dark Side of the Moon, Pink Floyd. Roy Gordon, Extra Battenberg. Paulie Gallieri, Don't Fear the Reaper, the album version for the guitar kind of break in the middle, which is wonderful. Joker Man by Bob Dylan, good song, Tom. Blue Monday, it sounds wonderful in a club. Somebody said Leonard Cohen a moment ago. Supertramp, Take the Long Way Home. Rain On, Bohemian Rhapsody, good shout actually. Uriah Heep, Rain, Tim, that's a tune. Billy Ocean says N. John Lennon, Imagine is my favourite. In My Life, The Beatles, Lauren Taylor, that is a beautiful song. Marvin Gaye, What's Going On? Got to agree with that one. The one that I came up with a few songs and I thought, well, it's one song that everybody in the world should hear. And I thought, I'll make it a happy song. And it's an old blues song, and they didn't do the original. This is a cover version. I did think, I wonder, Black Betty. Whoa, Black Betty, ram a lamb. Black Betty had a child, bam a lamb, damn thing gone blind. So I thought about, there's Ashton yesterday. The Beatles, Here Comes the Sun, another great song, Sam. Absolutely wonderful. Anything by Jedward. Nigel, stop it. You're wrongin'. Nutbush, Tina Turner, says Alan. Rolling Stones, Wild Horses. That's a great song, Alan. Ram Jam. Whoa, Black Betty. Bam a lamb. Black Betty had a child. Bam a lamb. Damn thing gone blind. Bam a lamb. But it's not an original. It's a double cover version. Was it old Lead Belly that did the original? Karina Jane. What a tune that is. I've met D-Train. James D-Train Williams. D-Train, you're the one for me. That's Stuart, bugger off. You're wrong. Stop laughing. Helen Earth. It's Elvis and Orbison in one. Ooh. Yeah, I know, but that's why I've got you thinking, because there was loads. There's some really deep soul ones that I thought. There was some proper head down, no nonsense, mindless boogie rock songs. I went to Tigers of Pan Tang at one point. I just thought one song. Oh, The Message, Grandmaster Flash. Oh, what's the first message? Come on, Adrian. I'm getting it mixed up with White Lines. Grandmaster Flash, The Message. You know, there's people pissing on the stairs. You know, they just don't care. Can't take the smell. Can't take the noise. Oh, is that The Message? David Bowie, All Right Now, Free. Some fantastic songs here. Stranglers, No More Heroes Anymore. Brilliant. Wonderful. Exactly that. Tiptoe Through the Tulips. You can hide away and shite, man. Stairway to Heaven, Seaman Stains. Good shout. Alan, A Boy Named Sue. That would help. That'll lead us into Adolescence in a moment. Because I do, it's vitally important that we start this conversation around adolescence. But, you know, back in the day, part of the reason why Chris Mundy, Charlie Pord, Return the Sausages. Brilliant. Terry Wookfit, shut up at your face. Kept Vienna Ultravox off the number one. I mean, how shite was that? Andrew Crisp, Back in Black, AC/DC. Who did Rock and Roll Ain't Noise Pollution? Was that AC/DC? That's a great song. And Bon Scott's voice, I mean, just incredible. Lynn Brown says, White Lines is the song we're thinking about. Kitty, the young ones, Paulie Galtieri. Midnight Train to Georgia, Gladys Knight. That's a beautiful song, Les. David Bowie, Space Oddity. Yeah, he was on the cutting edge, was old Davy Jones. The Smurf song. I've already mentioned the Smurf, the right Smurf song, Terry. You're wrong. But back in the day when kind of we have gotten away with it, I do feel sorry for Gen Z because there's no real hope for them. I mean, if you look at music, and that's why I chose the music to get into Adolescence. If you look at music, we had Beatles and Stones, and we had the Manchester sound, and we had the Liverpool sound, the Merseyside sound, and then you would get into Motown through the 60s, and then some of the American hippie stuff in 67, 68. And then you get to the Beatles, Sgt. Pepper, and you get Pet Sounds from the Beach Boys. All of this, and The Who, Baba Riley, who said that in the field. What a song. Nicky Watson says, I still have The Simpsons on vinyl. Oh, so it's you, Nicky. You're wrong. Our kid just might see me cry. What? Yeah, Ian Maguire. But what was the TV show? Was it Opportunity Knocks that they won? Yeah, I think it was. Leah says, California Dreamin', written by Bobby Womack. I'm sure it was Bobby Womack that wrote California Dreamin'. And Bobby Womack, an extraordinary voice, an extraordinary talent. So I was wanting to get into commercial radio. I was wanted to be a presenter on local commercial radio. And I was just a gopher. I was a grunt, just getting records out because they used all vinyl then, and writing quiz questions and answering the phones. And there's a wonderful guy called Mike Pryor, who's still doing bits of radio, actually. Lovely man. And he said to me, Adrian, what are you doing? I said, I'm just getting another friend of mine. I'm getting his tunes out and doing this. He said, do you want to come in the studio with me? I said, why? He said, I'm going to interview Bobby Womack. And I was like, no, Mike, you can stop that. He said, no. Honestly, do you want to? I've just set it up. He's there. You can listen to him on the other end while I'm doing the interview. And Bobby Womack was in his basement, just jamming with one of the Rolling Stones. Ronnie Wood, I think, was in his basement with him, and he was just jamming with Bobby Womack, and they were coming up with these songs. And I could hear him say to Ronnie Wood, "Yeah, Ronnie, just going to do this interview. I mean, I'm not quite sure how much fun they were having, if you catch me drift, and how strong the snifters were that they were having, and the drinks. But Mike did this interview, and when you revere someone so much, it kind of throws you. That's why you have to be, when you're doing an interview, that's why interview skills are very rare. But Bobby Womack, I'm sure, wrote California Dreamin'. I never understood the White Shade of Something or Other. That was White Shade of Pale by Procol Harum. Moving Up, Curtis Mayfield, great song. How Soon Is Now, the Smiths. Oh, yeah, not necessarily for, I mean, Morrissey's poetry was fantastic, as was Johnny Marr's guitar playing. They were of the moment. Killer Van de Graaff Generator, Tom, great song. Lou Reed, Betrayed, another great one. Alex in the Field, what was your last few gigs? Oh, bit of a muso. Soul Rebel, I was just thinking about this earlier. Bat Out of Hell, Paradise by the Dashboard Light, and I saw on the old Grey Whistle test, I saw Meatloaf do that song with, and I can never remember her name, but he was being very, very ungentlemanly. He had his hands all over the woman, inside her top and everything, and they were proper going for it. And I'm sure you've heard this story before. Alan, California Dreaming is a song written by John and Michelle Phillips in 1963. You sure? maybe I'm getting it confused with something, but I was almost sure that California Dreaming was originally a Bobby Womack. Didn't record it as Bobby Womack, but I could be wrong. Could be wrong. So I was going to tell you the very quick story. So I was thinking about Meatloaf and the album version of Bat Out of Hell for the piano intro at the beginning. That is, and for my final show on Rock FM in the Northwest, I played that as my first ever, my first song on the show, because like a Bat Out of Hell, I'm Gone When the Morning Comes, and that piano intro just has never been equal. It's wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I agree with Who Says Lady Eleanor by Lindisfarne. The harmonies on that are incredible. And Lindisfarne, to be fair, should have been bigger worldwide. They didn't really crack America, but they did crack the Newcastle City Hall every Christmas for their the usual shenanigans, and they were wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I love Lindisfarne's harmonies; they're wonderful. Oh, Paul Morton, Stop Distracting Me, Down in the Tube Station at Midnight Jam, one of their first singles I ever bought. That was mighty, 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 Down in the Tube Station. 20th Century Boy, T-Rex, agreed, Ray Norton. Clear White Light, Lindisfarne. That was one of their less bigger. I wasn't, I don't know whether I can say I wasn't a fan, but I kind of was a fan of Fog on the Tyne. Oh, I've got it playing in my head. Don't, because it makes me cry every time. Lindisfarne, Run for Home. So I'll be straight with you. I was living in London with someone. I was very homesick. Very. I just wanted away, out of the relationship, out of London. Wanted to go back home to the northeast. And that was the song that I used, Lindisfarne, Run for Home, to motivate me, to get me out of London and go back to people who were who had principles and virtues, and I could relax with. So Run for Home is one of my all-time favourite songs. It always tugs at my heartstrings. Marrakesh Express, Crosby, Stills and Nash. Fantastic, Tom. Great song. The Mighty Groundhogs, Misogyny. Oh, really? Don't know that one, Napoleon Blown Apart. Do I? The Mighty Groundhogs. Not sure. Sally McLennan by the Pogues. Oh, wonderful, Les. I Travelled a Land with My Guitar in My Hand. Soul Rebel. It's just a fantastic song. And Stuart understands. It's sometimes when we can't find the words, when we can't communicate things to each other, or maybe our partners or wives or husbands or kids, sometimes there's always a song that just says exactly the right thing. And I don't know about you, it's the randomness of it all. Sometimes it just pops into your head and go, yeah. So if I wanted to explain to you feeling homesick, you know that I'm from Sunderland, and you know sometimes Newcastle and Sunderland don't mix, but it was just that one song when I was feeling homesick, and it was that song, listening to that song, that made the decision for me to get out of a situation that I was unhappy in, and living in London where they would stab you in the back for a fiver. And Lynyrd Skynyrd, Simple Man. You see, music, it speaks to our soul. Nigel Green, Love is a Wonderful Colour, Icicle Works. And I interviewed the Icicle Works, and they were just fantastic boys. And they signed the white labels of Love is a Wonderful Colour for me. And as I say, I can only speak as I find. Meatloaf, I nearly got into a fight with him. As much as I loved Bat Out of Hell, and some of his, I'll do anything for love, but I won't do that, you mucky tart. A great talent, a great singer, but I mean, for one, don't go to Tyne East Television and then the record company get in touch with me and go, hey, Adrian, do you fancy interviewing Meatloaf and John Parr? It's like, oh, yeah, why? Where are they? Oh, they're up at Tyne East Television doing a recording of, I think it was Razzmatazz, the TV show. So I go up there, and he's sweating profusely, which is a big indicator that he's off his tits on gear. So he comes off stage, and the record company guy goes, "Oh, Mr. Meatloaf's in there. Why don't you go and sit down?" And I'm just being polite, and I'm just asking about stuff and trying to do. I've got 12 minutes. That's all I've got with him. So bang, 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 trying to get something that's constructive or entertaining. And I just said to him, "So, your daughter, would you ever allow her to go into showbiz?" I mean, literally, as if I'd just stuck a nuclear bomb up his derriere, he starts kicking off. Rah, 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 and I'm like, "Who the bloody hell are you talking to?" I mean, I wish I could find this tape, because it's all on tape. I'm using what's called a UHER, UHER, reel-to-reel machine. And he goes, "Rah, rah, rah, rah," and I'm like, "Oi, oi, 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 who you talking to, Bonnie lad? You're in fucking Northeast now. Shut up." Rah, 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 rah. And the record company guy must have been standing outside going, "Oh, I think it's getting rather lively in there." So he just pops his head round. Meatloaf's really red in the face. Rah, rah, rah. And I'm like, rah, rah, back at him. And the record company guy goes, "Come with me, Adrian." I didn't even say, "Oh, thanks, Mr. Meatloaf. Thanks very much for your time. Thanks very much for," I think was it Renegades? There's something about Army or Renegades or something, whatever the song was called. And I went into then John Parr's dressing room, and he was sitting there waiting for me to go in. And he saw the on my face, and he was like, "Whoa, are you all right, mate?" In his accent. And I was like, I said, "Look, I'm not quite sure what's just happened there, but I was just being pleasant." And I asked him about well, his daughter, would she go into showbiz? And he just went, poof. I mean, I don't know what it was about. He said, "I don't." He does that every now and again. But the old boy's dead now. But it's my, as I say, I speak as I find, and he was. Send you a tweet with a link to one of the best hours of things you will ever watch. Linda's Farm, Sam Fender. Please watch. Will do, Nicholas. Thank you. Good to see Rambo's in the body of the Kirk this evening. Let's get into the transition from music. The reason why I was using music is we all have our favorite songs, and they speak to us in particular ways. But more importantly, we were part of tribes. So I don't know whether you were Northern Soul and Motown, whether you were glam rock in the 70s, whether you were fans of the Beatles or the Stones or any of the other kind of guitar bands of the 60s that were massive, whether you in the 70s were into the Jackson 5 or the Osmonds or David Cassidy, all the kind of teen stuff, or whether you get into the 80s and stadium rock or punk rock or disco through the mid to late 70s. There was always a tribe going on, and every 18 months or so, the tribe would change, and it would speak to you depending on how old you were or where you were in your life, and whether it was. I mean, if you look at punk was real. I mean, it shook the whole world. Punk, as did the Beatles, as did glam rock-ish, but Motown definitely did it. And then you get into the 80s, and you've got the New Romantics, and you've got stadium rock, and you've got all kinds of bits and pieces. But we belonged. And the music spoke to us. It was of our generation. And what the music industry is meant to do, it's just, the music industry was created, Elvis and the like, and rock and roll was just created to get your disposable income out of your pocket into buying little 7-inch rounds of plastic vinyl. And you would buy these and take them home. Now, I don't know about you. I once took, was it the Pistols or was it, who did Friggin' in the Riggin'? And in my infinite wisdom, I couldn't have been 16, 17. And I went and bought it with my wages, and I took it home, and I said, Mum, I bought this brilliant Sex Pistols. They're brilliant. And my mum was kind of into, I don't know, Vaughan, second name, film star looks. She was into the Rat Pack, and she was into all of the Sammy Davis and Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin. She was into the crooners. So I brought, it must have been, whoever did Friggin' in the Riggin', it was a B-side of one of the Sex Pistols. And I put it on and played it. And literally, my mum just went ashen white, and she went, what's that? I said, oh, Mum, it's brilliant. It's the Sex Pistols. And she's like, the Who? I went, no, not the Who, the Sex Pistols. And she went, I'm not asking you the Who, I'm asking you the Who. And I said, no, it's Nuki Brown says B-side of something else. I couldn't remember what it was. So I kind of flipped it over and said, oh, do you remember this song then? And I played her that. And she was like, what the hell's that, man? I was like, oh, Mum. She just didn't get it. And then Sid Vicious did My Way. I said, oh, I know you like the crooners. I'll play you this. So I put Sid Vicious My Way on. And she was like, that's even worse. Our Adrian, what the hell are you playing? I said, Mum, I'm a DJ. I'm allowed to do that. She's like, no, not in this house, you won't. And I was like, what, Mum? It's the Pistols, man. Everybody's into them. Nigel Green says, Adrian, am I right in thinking that Blue Monday was the first record you could only buy on 12-inch single? Yes, Nigel. Yes. And they did a few remixes, kind of, but yeah, must have been, I was just turned 17, Nuki Brown. Bloody hell. Stuart, I like New York. And I was going to say something else. So Blue Monday shipped a ton of 12 inches. I mean, it was massive. Andrew James, I was into classic rock when I was about 16 in 2001. Seeing old footage of Rush. Oh, Rush, incredible musicians. Atomic Rooster, Angel Witch on TV was mind-blowing. I mean, I remember the old grey whistle test in the 70s. Kind of, not in the 80s. It went a bit weird in the 80s. It was meant to be for real musos who understood the bands that went on it, wouldn't get mainstream play sometimes. And it was Viv Kenyon says, I've got Blue Monday 12-inch. I knew you'd have a bloody 12-inch, Viv. But Blue Monday, I mean, I used to play it in the clubs, and the sound in a big room with a great sound system is just mind-blowing. It's wonderful. I mean, if you turn it up, you're going to annoy the neighbours. The Eagles, Paulie Galtieri, Les Griffiths, if I ever heard Cilla Black or Neil Sedaka caterwauling, I ran out the room. Blowjob Cilla Black. Seemingly, she did the coats in the cavern. I wonder how she got out there then. Wet Dream by Max Romeo. Yes, Chris, I got that one. Disaster Area. Whispering Bob Harris. Pistols My Way was released 12-inch in 78. Was it? Hang on, how old was I then? Yeah. I was 16, 17. Hooky was cheated by New Order in the end. Funny how things pan out. The Toon Piper, Ultravox. Oh, hang on. What's that in the... is that... Let me just do that. I just need to get that. Oh, come on, you're on. What the bloody hell? Where was it? Alan Liddell says, I saw New Order in 1983 in the Mayfair Suite. Oh, the Mecca Bowling Alley in Sunderland. Still got the poster. I'm trying to think of some of the bands that I saw there. That was, do you know, for all it was Sunderland, Mecca Bowling Alley had some massive bands on there. I mean, Crown Heights Affair, which were kind of like a disco combo. There's about 10 of them, though. So Crown Heights is part of New York. They came across to Sunderland and played in the Mecca Bowling Alley, and it was just mind-blowing that these massive American stars were coming to Little Sunderland. Who did This Is the Time for Action? It was kind of Scar. This is the time for action. And oh, come on, I can see them. This is the time for action. Scar Band. They were playing at Sunderland Mecca, and I was there with. I shouldn't really say this, but I'm going to anyway. So there was a really massive producer from Tyne Tees Television. I'm not going to give you his name, like God from Tyne Tees Television, and I was working as a motor mechanic apprentice at the time, And my mate, Big Davy, he literally was 7 foot tall and 20 feet wide. He was a big mountain of a guy. And he was there with Chris Cowie, who went on to produce Top of the Pops, and they were kind of like the cool kids in the northeast of England. And he went up to this big name producer and he said, "Here," because he was his English teacher or something at school. He went, "Here, remember me from school?" And he went, yeah. He said, "Give him a job. He's a DJ. He's brilliant. Give him a job at Taiwanese television." And this guy was like, "Oh, yeah, right, oh, whatever. Here, just call me," which I didn't, of course. But Big Davy was scared the bejesus out of these two TV producers in Sunderland bowling alley. And it was this band, hopefully, somebody's, Locarno was before it was Mecca. Secret Affair, In the Field, thank you. Secret Affair, Time for Action. What a tune that is. And I was just I was like a young guy. Obviously, I wasn't drinking because I was only 16 or 17. Secret Affair, what a tune. And Napoleon Bonaparte. Our local college had huge bands in the 70s and 80s. So let's leave the kind of the music there. I wanted to use it as a transition into Adolescence, this 4-part TV series on Netflix, which everyone is talking about. Karina Jane says, "Because we love music." Why is everyone running off the song, says Phil Levan? Because we love our tunes, Phil. And we're talking, I asked the question, if you had one song that you think everyone in the world should listen to, what would it be? So people were telling me the songs. They Shoot Horses, Don't They? Was that America? My World, another great song, Soul Rebel. So we had the tribes, the varying tribes as you grew up. It changed in the 80s from sort of new romantics. Then we get into Prince and Springsteen and Madonna and the stadium artists. And then we get into the Manchester of 89, but all the way through. And then we get, Cool Britannia in the mid-90s with Blur and Oasis, and it's always tribes. We get into the noughties and the tribes just disappear. We've now got Ed Sheeran and Taylor Swift. That's not a tribe. It's a head fuck. So forgive my language, but this is passion and pulp, of course. Good question. One Love, Bob Marley. Cheers, Phil. So we have these songs that speak to us. They speak to our soul. I enunciated that very carefully because I know somebody would say something. Our soul. And now the kids of Gen Z, they don't look up to the characters. They don't see the original suite with a man wearing lipstick, and that was so avant-garde for the 70s. And then David Bowie putting his arm around Mick Ronson while he's playing guitar on Top of the Pops. My God, there was Agitated from Surbiton writing into the BBC, "How very dare you? A man put his arm around another man on Top of the Pops. How very dare you? I'm bloody losing my mind." And all we kids just laughed. I mean, it was nothing. But for people of a certain age, they couldn't handle it. They were used to Elvis the Pelvis. And Elvis the Pelvis got it tight in the 50s when he was gyrating his hips. He went on TV shows and they had to, the shot had to be above his waist. They literally told the producers of whatever TV show it was, they had to shoot him from above the waist because they were scared that if they showed his pelvis swiveling, then it was going to make women faint across America. It was going to make America feel unnecessary. So, again, I'm using this because heroes, people to look up to, songs that spoke to us of our generation. And as I say, the record industry was about getting your disposable income out of your pocket and into theirs by giving you albums and singles. And I'm sure you can remember the first time or first single, and maybe you still got that vinyl. Maybe you used your mum's or your dad's or brother or sister's collection, and it was a magical thing. It was so magical that you literally maybe you would open a box or one of those metal wire holders where you put the vinyl in. Maybe you just looked at it. But when you bought an album, you literally could look at the album cover and look at the artwork. Like Rush, as somebody said earlier, you look at that and it's like a mind-blowing lunar landscape, some planetary landscape from some planet a million and odd light years away. It was imagination. It was far thinking. It was wonderful. And it just emboldened you and filled you full of wonderment and imagination. And we get to 2025 and Gen Z and Gen Alpha, which is a joke in itself and an irony, they've got nobody to look up to. I've said to you before, who've they got? Taylor Swift and Ed Sheeran. Nice ginger boy. Ginger. So the kids coming up, there's no rebellion in them. None. Because they can't see it anywhere. I mean, even parents now are doing recreational gear and the kids are like, well, it's not a biggie. It's not a... I mean, back in the 70s when I was growing up, if I saw anybody with tattoos and maybe with a blunt going on, they were literally, they were the devil reincarnate. Couldn't go anywhere near them because they would eat me, they would kill me, and you'd have to run away. Oh, Sabrina Carpenter, please don't get me going. She's got to wear bloody suspenders. And there's only like men of a certain age that would know how attractive stockings and suspenders are. Because it's of a certain time. And 2025 is not that time. Everybody's flashing their wares. Everybody's trying to be sexy. Everybody is selling sex. Everybody. And that's why it's a perfect storm. We've got Adolescence on TV, this 4-parter. Now, again, I'm going to try and navigate this without too many spoilers. If you are intending on watching it, then please just either turn the sound off, go and make a cup of tea, or something. Because I believe this 4-part TV show is one of the most important that we've seen in a long time. I will also say episode 3 is one of the greatest pieces of TV I've ever seen in my life. And I can remember Kathy Comes Home from late 60s, early 70s. The reality TV, the fly on the wall docudrama. I remember all of those. But this is, it's a subject matter that it is imperative that we start talking about. It is imperative that we do something about. So the premise of the show is there is the slaughter of a young girl, and that's the premise of the show. No, Terry, I haven't bought into the narrative. I'm setting it up so that I don't disappoint people by giving the spoilers away. But at the same time, there's two angles that I want to go with for this. So what Netflix have done that I don't agree with is they've changed the skin color of the real life perpetrator, who's black, and changed it to a nice white boy for whatever reason. But America's kicking off about it big time. Big time. This country, the apathy and the Nuki Brown, thank you. This show's a breath of fresh air. Thank you, Nuki Brown, and thank you, Stuart, again, for your continued support. So the premise is this. It's like a BBC cop drama to begin with. But what we then see, and as Terry Wookfit possibly alluded to, we only get one angle. The narrative is one angle. And the narrative that should have been sort of run in parallel is the story of the victim. There's absolutely nothing to do with the victim. But the reason why, and I can tell you the reason why I thought that that episode 3 was special is because of the 2 actors that are involved in it. I won't go any further than that because Stuart says I'll add that to my list on Netflix. It's worth it, and I binge watched it. I just did the whole 4 episodes. Episode 4 I kind of get, but didn't really need it. I would rather that they juxtaposed the perpetrator and the victim, but they show you an angle of things, and it is all about what they're trying to portray is toxic masculinity, weak men breeding weak men. And it's there is, and again, I don't want this to come across as misogynistic, but there has to be a conversation now. For the last 40 odd years, nearly 50 years, we have had conversations, we have had programming, men, we've had programming where we are told, show your feelings, show your feelings, show your feelings. And yet there's no safe space for we men to show our feelings. And part of that narrative is woven through this story arc. And for nearly 50 years, we are being told by one part of society that masculinity is toxic. Masculinity is toxic. You need to get away from masculinity. You're just aggressive. You're just men. You're just aggressive. And this Adolescence shows you very subtly how this particular generation are lost. Because the men, Alan says, subliminal programming, Adrian, not good for you. No, I'm quite intelligent enough to be able to get what they're trying to do on many different levels. But for the purposes of this live, I'm trying to give us a route where we can have a conversation around this. Because it's not going to stop for the moment. And we've got all of this knife crime. Look, you look at London. London on a daily basis is having murders and knife crime and gun crime daily. This is not something that can be dealt with by putting more cops on the streets. That won't work. You can't put the army on the streets because you know what that message sends. So we have to get to a point where we understand that masculinity is not toxic, but these young guys need to have, and I would suggest from sort of 8 or 9 onwards to mid-teens, 13, 14, they need to have strong men, strong masculinity. There's none of this, I agree with Stephen Hall, Khan has made it worse. Burlington Bertie, thank you for that. What are they doing? Censoring comments. Well, I'm doing this, so I'll have to have a look at it later. I don't know what they're doing. Terry Wookford says, it's interesting Stephen Graham, the actor and co-writer, made his name in This Is England 86. This Is England 88 and This Is England 90. Bit toxic masculinity there. Yeah, I agree. But it's the zeitgeist. It's of the time, of the conversation, of the moment. And look, I'm part of and I'm working with an organisation called the Mankind Project, because I think the pendulum has swung too far away. Now, because fingers are being pointed, and as I say, I'm trying to avoid a misogynistic vent, but the fingers have been pointed at men for far too long. And if I may be so bold, and in my view, young women today are off their trolleys. They're scaring young guys by the Bonnie Blues and the Lily Phillips of the world, who are literally, they've got body counts in the thousand. And they don't understand that the male psyche wants from their partner, whether it's male or female, it doesn't really matter, but what they want from their partner is peace. They want to have a safe space where they can go and just be in that peaceful place. And this adolescence gives you an insight into what happens when weak men breed weak men. Now, I'm not suggesting to you that we all start chinning each other and we all start getting aggressive and start fighting. Masculinity is not about that. Masculinity is about boundaries, about putting boundaries in place. And you ask a lot of women, if they're being very masculine in their energy, they tell we men, yeah, it was the ladettes back in the 90s. Phil Levan, thank you for a very good point. Women will say to men, show your feelings. If you want to cry, cry. And men would just, well, if that's what the missus wants, or that's what my partner wants, or that's what my girlfriend wants. But we men need women of values. We need women of integrity, because we have to bring, and without going too much into sort of child trauma or shadow work or trauma work, we men need certain things. Now, without being base about this, men need sex, men need a mission, whether it's work or whether it's a hobby mission, or men need a mission in life. And sometimes we're not getting that because we're not allowed that, because we're being told masculinity is toxic. Masculinity is merely an energy. And for hundreds of thousands of years, if not millions of years, hunter-gatherers, if you wish, from the start, we have got men who have a certain role in life, and women have a certain role in life. But now we are literally mucking up the mental health of young men and women by telling them there's 5 million different sexes. There's this, that, and the other. Go and sleep with 1,000 men in one day. Now, it might get you clicks and likes and shits and giggles on YouTube and other social media, because that's how they make their money, and they're making millions from it, and OnlyFans, of course. But we need to have respect. It's earned, not given, I'll grant you. But the values and integrity that we as and the family unit's lost. And the reason why a lot of, this may be a broad brushstroke, but it needs to be part of the conversation. What we have at the moment is we don't have men in the lives of young lads, or young men, if you wish, that can guide them on the path of manhood. Now, women should be the supplicators, in my view. And I talk to a lot of guys about stuff like this, as I say, through my work with the Mankind Project. I talk to a lot of men, and it's very simple things. Terry Wookfit says respect is a two-way street. Completely agree. But it's what goes on in our head. Now, there's a lot of bad actors. There's a lot of bad apples, if you want to call them that. But there are people out there, and this is what Adolescence is trying to address. Young guy, 13-year-old, knifes a girl to death. And the premise is an insight into the character of the young guy. And I can tell you this because I've said to you before that some really bad stuff happened to me when I was a kid. It happens to a lot of people. Life is shit sometimes. But I can tell you this, the reason why I got into a martial art was because I was scared that if I got into a fight, I was going to kill someone. When my rage comes up, and that's why I'm still doing the work at my age, I continue to do my work, because the rage that comes up is not controllable. It is not. And Adolescence addresses this because there's trauma in there. And this young guy, 13-year-old, you can see the rage. You can see it. And I'm not going to spoil it by telling you how they portray this, but it's very clever. It's very clever and very subtle. So enough with the stuff that society, the Matrix, if you want, or the puppet masters in the shadows are trying to get us to do. We have to look after our kids. And as someone says, Andrew says, I'm single, have been nearly 22 years, got no kids, living on my own in a flat. I'm the same as you, Andrew. The one regret I have in life that I didn't. There is a reason why I never had kids. I had the opportunity, I had the right women, but I just decided that the abuse was going to stop with me. That was it. That could be consigned to the history books. I jailed a very, very, very bad man for 35 years, 5 years ago, with help from others. So if anybody comes to me, and I'm a bit blunt, because from the northeast of England, our humour is quite outrageous. I mean, it's really blunt and straight to it. And, sometimes I don't give a flying if somebody gets upset. I don't care what they think about me. I don't. Because I know what I've had to endure on my path. And I saw this in this adolescence. And at the moment, we have a very important conversation to have, and it's twofold. One, colour, because we need to have the conversation around, and this will save lives. This will save lives. We have to have conversations around knife crime, and sometimes it's black on black or brown on brown, however you want to describe it. But please, let's have the conversation without either side getting their panties in a bunch, because this has got to save lives. These are young kids that are barely teenagers who are just running around trying to stab each other because they want to look good to their mates, because they've never had any inclusion in any tribe, even in their family. Even in families with fathers at home. And these fathers are trying to do what they're trying to do within the confines of what they've been told to do by society since the 70s. Can't do that. Can't do that. But then, if you look at what women are doing, and as I say, I'm not pointing the finger and judging or accusing anyone, but if you look at Katie Price and those bloody awful turkey teeth, look at how many times she's had boob jobs and plastic surgery. This is a role model for girls, because they just want girls to spend stupid money on stupid things and going, it's vanity. It's telling them you don't look good enough. You're not worthy enough. This is the women. You're not worthy enough. You need to have plastic surgery so you can be liked, so you can be an OnlyFans model, so you can be on YouTube and social media, and you get your clicks and likes to validate who you are. And yet, why can't we validate our children through love? Now, I'm not turning into some tree-hugging hippie shite. I'm not. But if you give children the wherewithal and the emotional maturity to understand what's going on, train them in a martial art from an early age, give them that understanding, we have to have this conversation as adults. Because we're only caretakers here. We're only here for a short while, and we are caretaking this planet for the kids that are coming after us. And at the moment, we're breeding children that are full of anxiety. They've got no hope. They've got depression. They've got anxiety. They've got all kinds of mental health disorders. Maybe that was brought on by lockdown 5 years ago. I mean, it's the 5th anniversary. And we believe that this is the right thing to do. Can I tell you straight? Fuck the politicians. Fuck the men that stand there and go, well, I think, next slide, please. I think we're going to have to lock you down for 2 years. Fuck off. Look at the damage you've done to our kids. Look at the damage that you've done to us. Look at the damage that you've done to society. And we all know why, because they want to control us. They'll take 20 years, but they still want to make you do what they want you to do. And I give you lockdown 2020 as a prime example of how they will ruin society, ruin your family, and ruin a happy life. Because the kids are not going to come through. They're all ruined internally. Physically, they might be great specimens. But soon enough, they'll be getting all these bloody Botox injections. They'll be getting lines smooth. They'll be going off and getting like 10 times the size of boobs. And then they'll be getting liposuction around their arse and the tops of their thighs. And that's the men. The vanity of our children is literally off the scale. Yet no one is filling them with the confidence and the life skills to be able to navigate this world. And we've got these arseholes in the Pink Palace in London going, oh, I think you should do this. No, fuck off. Rachel Reeves, oh, I'm going to tax everybody. We know, because you're an arsehole. 22 billion black hole, my hairy arse. Our kids. And look, they're giving it to the pensioners. And I've said to you many times on this channel, we have to look after our kids and we have to look after our elderly. And at the moment, we're doing neither. Matt Hancock has the temerity to come out and raise his head above the parapet. And this is the man that was in charge of the health service while they were just offing our elderly. I mean, there's loads of psychologists who will come out and say, oh, we need to do this and we need to do that. Children want to feel as if they belong, whether it's a family unit or, as Alan says, whatever happened to the Cubs, the Scouts, Brownies, Guides, Lads Brigades. We had youth clubs, discos, parks. Now there's sod all for kids. That's because the local councils, I mean, they'll run us bankrupt and then say, oh, we've run out of money. Can everybody just not pay more council tax, please? They don't even say pretty please. They just go, more tax, please. And look, you and I know as adults that life is never easy. Never. And we're just feeding them TV. We're feeding them narratives, programming them through social media. And the politicians are now saying, oh, well, we have an online safety bill. It's to protect the kids, of course. But they're saying, well, kids can't have social media until they're 16. So what they're going to do with the adults? Oh, it's the pedos, the PDFs. Can't say it. PDFs. And we read the newspapers and it's everywhere. Everything to make us fear porn in the newspapers every day, on TV every day, on social media every day. There's an answer that I'm giving you here. Get them off their phones. If you look at kids now, it's that. Look, I'm an older guy, but I've lived a bit of life, seen a bit of life, and understand a bit of life. And I'm using my phone for research purposes to keep an eye on what the bloody hell's going on in this world and dissecting it so that I can bring things to you on a Sunday and a Wednesday so that you get it. But adolescence it's multifaceted. And would I say it's worth a watch? Yeah, absolutely. Would I say that we're being programmed? Oh, absolutely. Would I say that the narrative is anti-white male? Oh, absolutely. But the acting in it, Stephen Graham and the girl that played, hang on a second, the girl that played Princess Anne in, oh, where is it? Let's see if it's in The Sun. I can't remember her name, but that. It's Erin Doherty. She played Princess Anne in The Crown, and she's got a 2-page spread in today's Sun on Sunday. Now, look, I'm not naive enough to think that, oh, that's a really nice article. It's the Netflix PR machine running riot. It's the Netflix PR machine getting as many stories out there as is physically possible so that more people watch it. And I do believe within the first 24 hours, was it about 24 million people watched this? Loads of people are watching it in America, as are in the UK. But this is the Tomb Piper. Go into any bar these days, watch any group of young'uns, and they all sit there on their phones. Hardly any conversation between them. That's why, and I'll use this as a point. Thank you, the Tomb Piper. You've got kids who are unable to verbally express themselves when they get into school at 4.5. Now, obviously, people will point the finger and judge and say, oh, it's the parents. Well, not if you've got politicians in government and then the matrix. How many jabs have kids got to have before they get into school? I mean, they are giving kids, babies in my view, hepatitis jabs. What the fucking hell are they giving hepatitis jabs to kids for? Babies, in essence. Why? We know, and I've said this to you before, I'm judging no one for taking the jab, because in 5 years ago, the Charlie 19 jab, the jibber jabber, the V for Victor, everybody was trying to do the best thing that they could do because they didn't know what it was. We were looking to our political leaders. We were looking to Whitty and Valance, bless him, who's now working for the Tony Blair Institute. Why would he be doing that then? Oh, yes, digital ID, mate. So we were just trying to do the right thing. I want to ask Tony Blair. Tony Blair, direct message to you. Did you or did you not take your son Leo to France for the MMR vaccine, where in France you could have the MMR vaccine separately? Just asking for a friend. Where everybody else in this country had to take their kids, and some of the kids had a reaction to the MMR vaccine because it was a 1 in 3. And now we have adults that have got turbo cancers, and you have Pfizer buying up a Canadian company when all of a sudden they recognised that what they were putting into people actually was creating cancers. So now they've got a brand new business model. They've got a turbo cancer company that works with and tries to eradicate turbo cancers. So they buy the business. So they've put the jabs, or whomever's put the jabs into people, and now they've got the turbo cancer solution. It's just business. But at the end of the business model is the human being. And they try to nail us every single time. No, they can have away and shite. So, as I say, we don't judge anyone for taking the jab. But I know that very wealthy people, they could spend £27,000 to have their blood cleaned of the spike protein. So the rich, realising and recognising the panshite that we're in, would have paid 27 grand to have their blood cleaned. And by the way, there was a salt solution given to some members of society, I wonder who they were, so that they didn't get ill. You've never seen an MP, the headline saying, MP collapses in Commons. Not one. How many footballers have you seen footballer collapses on pitch? How many times have you been watching football or heard of somebody collapsing at a football match on the terraces? How many times have you heard members of your family and or friends or close friends or relatives say, I've got turbo cancer. I've got cancer. The proliferation of all these things. They don't, look, the pharmaceutical companies, they need customers. They don't want to cure you of anything. They want customers. And they now have a whole stream of new customers coming to them with health conditions and health problems. And now we've got that fat, useless Bojo the Clown, saying, oh yeah, I think it came out of a lab in Wuhan. Mate, we knew within 10 minutes it wasn't a fucking bat out of a wet market in China. We knew it. And we knew you were lying. We knew the people that were standing there. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. We knew they were lying. And we knew that the police were trying to police something that was evil. We knew. So let's get back to the beginning. Adolescence is a show for the moment. The zeitgeist. The whole Scotland team collapsed earlier. Kaz, what was that? Was that in one of those World Cup qualifiers? Because we've had Frank Bruno collapse. And I wish Frank well. He's a national treasure. He's collapsed. Don't know why. There's Stuart Pearce. Heart attack on a bloody plane. Wonder what that brought that on. I mean, when he was a footballer, he would have been one of the fittest people on the planet. Run for hours and hours and hours. Had to be taken off the plane. Plane had to be diverted and he was taken off the plane. It's happening all over. Basketball players, gymnasts, football players, all kinds of sportsmen. And miraculously, loads of sportsmen are kind of falling off their perch. Alan says, I trusted the jibber jabber, took 3 of them. Unfortunately, I was jabbed to hell when I was in the British forces, so stupidly trusted the government in 2020. Conditioned thought, I guess. As Ray Norton says, a sick person is a customer for life. The thing is, they know that we as human beings would try to do our best for our family, our relatives, our community, the country. So the greater good, the good at home, the good in the family. And we're just not catching a break with this. They're slippery figures, the snake oil sellers. That's why they do it. So you pays your money and you takes your choice. I watched Adolescence. I thought the acting was amazing because the actors and actresses were believable. I thought some of it was over-egging the pudding. I get that they're trying to, instead of the lead, so the bad guy in essence, they didn't put a black actor in that place, to put a white actor, to make it seem like white men are the enemy. And the hero of it is a black detective inspector. Now, let me tell you something. A detective inspector doing the grunt work on the street, doing foot chases on the street. My hairy backside. I'll ask anybody who's been in the job. When was the last time you saw a detective inspector chasing some scrote over the street? Never happened in the month of Sunday. So they were over-egging that particular pudding. Some of it didn't ring true. But the programming that you are now, or the viewer of this particular program, is going to take the white guy and think he's evil. And so close to Southport. So some of it doesn't ring true. I want to tell you one more thing, and I don't want you to go to bed with bad thoughts. But there's 2 subjects I want to tell you about that's not getting any traction any interaction whatsoever. I'll do one about China, which you need to know about, because it will end up there. And there's another one where it's just an example of how, to use the words of a great Chinese philosopher, how fucked up Generation Z is. It's gone. So firstly, I want to tell you about the Chinese drugs executions. So the Chinese are pretty effective. So China, they don't take people dealing drugs, recreational gear, doing it. They don't take it lightly. It's a Chinese Communist Party. How very dare you? So what they've done is they've got mobile death vans. So you don't go to court and, my lord, it was me mates, I was just carrying it for him. You're picked up by the cops, taken to the death van, given a lethal injection, you're dead. Pfft, gone. But what they want to do, sometimes they'll shoot you, but what they want to do is they want to harvest your internal organs. So China are using mobile death vans, and they execute, this is China, just the one country, China, they execute more than all the other countries combined. There is a reason I'm telling you this. Because if it happens first in China. Now, China has the death penalty for non-violent crimes. Amnesty International noted thousands were executed. I mean, literally thousands were executed in 2023. Oi, you, come here. We're going to take you for a ride in the van. Dead. And seemingly the Chinese are harvesting organs from criminals for profit. I mean, nice if you can get it. It's bad enough the bloody hospitals in this country. Oh, did I say that out loud? So they're harvesting kidneys and livers and pancreas and lungs. So if you think this is a one-off, this is China, the nation, course of conduct. Literally, mobile death vans. And just killing off people and harvesting their organs. And I've told you, China, Marxist, Socialist, Communist, any ist you care to mention, including Canada and Australia and New Zealand and Great Britain and France and Germany, China's running them all via the Socialist Marxist World Economic Forum. Can you see how it works? I told you, not last year but the year before. Everybody in Davos was complaining that there was too many bloody Chinese. And there's good old Starmer, good old boy. He's cozying up with the Chinese and WEF. Can you imagine? Oh, you're all bloody right wing. So we're going to off you. We're going to Epstein you. So bugger you. And do you know that China has 46 crimes punishable by death? What? Overcooking your noodles or something? 46 crimes punishable by death. Whoa, that's a bit brutal. I'm definitely not going over there. I mean, if you don't hear from me again, they might get upset with me telling you this because I shouldn't be telling you this. Final question for you. We didn't get round to doing the questions. I swear I need to do a live every day. I'm going to ask you about something. Do you know what vaping is? Vabbing. Vabbing. Vabbing, or Victor Alpha Bravo Bravo India November Golf. It's a trend on TikTok of all places. Now, what this is it's Gen Z. They've suddenly thought, hang on, because the lads, and again, we're back to adolescence, the lads are not wanting to have relationships with women with high body counts. So the women with high body counts, recognizing that they might not get a relationship, they are taking, I'm just going to have to tell it like it is. There's no way of being delicate around this. So the teenage daughter, the teenager, will you know the man from Uncle Badge? They'll take their Terry Wookfit using women's natural lubrication as perfume. It's called vaping, and basically they take the female lubrication, for want of a better term, put it on their fingers and then dab it on the necks. I mean, as I thought, is that lip gloss? And you might think, bloody hell, Adrian, what's this? It's on TikTok. It's a trend on TikTok, I swear. And I swear you will hear this via somebody else at some point over the next few days or weeks, because it's a thing. It just kind of hit me in the face, and it was like, oi, 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 what the bloody hell are they doing with this, man? But it's a thing. And this is how fucked up Gen Z is, because they think it's going to make them attractive to men. I mean, can you imagine? Be like going out on the town in Grimsby every night. Now, it is a comedy routine waiting to be done. But I am telling you, it... Oh, Chris, that's funny. No, I'm not going to tell you what he said. So it's like if your daughter goes out and she's a teenager, if she's going out for the night, don't smell her neck. And, well, as Rich says, to be honest, it works in the animal kingdom, but I thought we were elevated above bloody, shagging like chimpanzees. Ray Norton, Eau de Grimsby Parfum, brilliant. Joan Collins puts her ankles around her neck to attract men. Theo Bovril, what's the difference between Joan Collins and a Kit Kat? You only get 4 fingers in a Kit Kat. Paulie Galtieri says that Bonnie Blue must smell like the inside of a skip outside a halal chicken factory. Do you know, I'm so glad that I left this to the end, because we've just debased everything. Cats pee on their partners. Do they, Alan? Bloody hell. I mean, it's the pheromones. It is, but you can buy pheromones in certain perfumes and stuff. Yeah, that's interesting, Rich. I'm not telling you why I'm laughing, because I will get cancelled. Rich says, my neighbour's dog can smell our dog on heat from a quarter of a mile away. Look, I lived with a little cat who we hadn't had her spayed. When she came into heat, Jesus, and she was a house cat. We wouldn't let her outside, but she would whine and whine and whine, and all the boy cats used to come round to the yard going, oh, hello, any chance of a dance? No, you little fecker. But that is, I'm just giving you the heads up, it is a thing. It is the young ladies of the parish. I'm going to have a word with Sister Mary to make sure that there's no one in the body of the kirk doing that, especially, well, they wouldn't want, to bring all the boys in the yard, their milkshake or their thing. No, I can't. I sound like Chubby Brown. If only it was an aftershave, Rich. But it is a thing. And I just wanted to use it to kind of, again, as music, we got into adolescence, and then adolescence into how fucked up Gen Z is. And with that, I've no idea how long I've been going, but I haven't done everything that I was going to do. And you are simply encourageable. Oh, yeah. Hair gel, says Stuart. There's a similar scene in There's Something About Mary. Alan, musk aftershave. Proper musk is deer pee. Is it really, Alan? I bet it's right up Tower Block Tracy's alley. That's probably how she gets hers, up the alley. Andrew James says, I wonder much the lads can make from tadpole aftershave. Andrew, I'm not quite sure about that one. Phil Levant, my cat has been spayed but whines for food like 4 a.m. in the morning until I get up. Well, I feel your pain. I do feel your pain, Phil Levan. Berlin and Bertie. Triggy. Popping everybody's cherry tonight. Been a few newbies in the body of the Kirk. Please make sure that you leave the body of the Kirk in a reasonable condition. Sister Mary did pull me to one side. There is a lot of rumours going around the church because I have to say to Sister Mary, you can't pull me, Sister Mary. I'm a reverend. You have to understand that. And next weekend, I mean, the next live is on Wednesday, obvs, but the Sunday after is Saturday night, 2 o'clock in the morning. The clocks go forward, so you kind of lose an hour's sleep, but you gain some daylight at the end of the day. So by the time we start these lives, it'll be daylight. But I had to have a word with Sister Mary because I said to her, "Look, you're going to have to watch the hands on the clock." Sorry, and she went, "Oh, Reverend, was that a Freudian?" I said, "No, it wasn't a Freudian. It was just my mouth saying something that I shouldn't have said." "Oh, I say," she says. So I said, "Yes. And how can you tell when it's bedtime in Michael Jackson's house, when the big hand touches the little hand?" So I said to her, "Come on, Sister Mary, will you look after putting the clock forward?" And she said, "Sorry, Reverend?" I said, "Will you make sure that the hands on the clock move forward so we don't have any of the lazy feckers in the church or any of the congregation turning up for the live at the wrong time?" "Oh, Reverend, you have my word. I will have my eyes and my hands on the clock." "You sure you said that, Sister Mary?" Amen, says Andy Spittle. I'm with you, Andy. So be well, stay safe. Have a good couple of days. Nathan Diamond, fabulous live as always, Adrian. Good night, all. Night, Nathan. Lights out in the nunnery is 10 p.m. Candles have to be out by 11. I hope they don't burn any hair. So nighty night all is the general consensus. Thank you for being there. Thank you to the Golden Battenbergers for all their support as ever for these lives. And I'll see you for another one on Wednesday. As I say, I'm not going to go too much into this, but I've got stuff coming that I'm very proud of. And will take us in a different direction, slightly different direction. But the lives will still be here, as always. Look after yourself. Be well. Look after your families. And I'll see you Wednesday, 8 o'clock. My name's Adrian Allen. Thank you for your likes, your subscriptions, but most of all, your indulgence. Whatever you do, wherever you go, stay safe. And don't forget the Battenberg. See you Wednesday, 8 o'clock.